Nothing is easy, you'll find that the squeeze won't turn out so bad. Your fingers may freeze, worse things happen at sea. There's good times to be had. So if you're alone and you're down to the bone, just give us a play. You'll smile in a while and discover that I'll get you happy my way. Nothing's easy. What we found is it's not easy to break the programming of the people who insist that they're still living on a spinning ball. Whereas you can't call them evidences, they are proofs. One thing is absolutely for sure without a doubt, and we can all go and witness it. There is no curve. Water does not curve. What you will witness, possibly, is slight refraction, some mirroring. It's not easy to say. And compression due to perspective. You get a blank sheet of paper, a white, it doesn't have to be white, as long as you're drawing in the opposite colour. It can be black and drawing white, you know what I mean? But anyway, obviously just get a white piece of paper, blank piece of paper, and put a dot in the centre of it, and then draw lines from each corner into the centre to the dot, and there you have it, perspective. If the dot represents your eye level, then that is more or less what's happening in our vision. It's a little bit simplistic, but how come when you look on a straight railway line that the railway lines themselves appear to come together on that very point? So when you look at things out to sea, which is where you're assured a level base, the water being level, of course, then when you see things in the distance, they are compressed due to perspective. It's very simple to say, oh, things get smaller because they're in the distance, which is an absolute fact. But you've got to use the obvious way that our eyes identify what we see, or our brains actually, but the eyes relay that information. So there has to be perspective. You have to take that into account. And so I heard, I think it was Anthony Riley, maybe. Anyway, he, I go through so much stuff, it gets a bit confusing. But he was talking about the fact that when you see something in the distance, you can find out its ultimate height by, like, okay, so let's just follow Dell's example of Ailsa Craig in the west coast of Scotland, and I can't remember the height out of the water it is, but he was using the full height out of the water, whereas realistically at that distance it would be compressed due to perspective and also the distance away it is, which is kind of the same thing, I know, but it's not taken into account, and that's giving the globe earthers a massive amount of leeway. And yet, even taking none of that into account, it's still visible down to the shoreline. So you can see the whole thing, where it should be behind, oh, I can't remember now, but it's a massive amount of water in the so-called curvature of the Earth bullshit. It isn't there. The Earth doesn't ever show you curvature. I'm meaning the water on the Earth, of course, because the Earth on the Earth is all different shapes and textures and concave and convex, and that's why the term flat Earth is, one, it's misleading, and two, it's a trigger phrase, and that is programmed into all of us from an early age. Ridicule that so-called belief. I was taught that anyway at primary school. When, in ancient times, stupid people, or all people were stupid back then, and they didn't know about the Earth being a spinning ball. Of course, it's completely the other way around, and I understand now that, well, I know now that if you still deny reality, then you're the stupid ones. Because there it is, plain as day becomes night. The curve is not there. So, and like I say, anyone can do this. Anyone with eyes, anyway, the working eyes, just, I don't know, pour yourself a cup of water and have a look at it. Is it curving? Can you pour the cup of water on the outside and it will remain on the outside, or does it have to be contained? And when it is contained, because you'll find out it has to be, look at the surface. Do this, do that. Doesn't matter what you do with it. The water knows what level is, much better than you do, and it will maintain that levelness. That's it. Now, okay, people might say, well, that's just a cup full of water, and oh dear. I've said it time and time again, I'll say it again, go out to the sea, to a big lake, whatever, and do your own observations. You will never find a curve unless you inadvertently record a swell coming in or going out, or whatever. But a swell, if you take that curvature of the swell and then transfer it to a ball, you'll find the ball is tiny. And you could never presume that that is the size of the Earth, because we are led to believe that the Earth is 25,000 miles in circumference. Just a little under that, 24,996 or something like that, which, all these figures now, I'm trying to forget them actually, because it's just nonsense. And I know many people who know the Earth is flat like to keep them in their armory, just as a reference to how ridiculous it all, I was going to say was, but there's still people who think it is really like that. Far too many of them. But it will hopefully be coming to an end. I know the figures are chipping away all the time. People are realizing that it's a difficult one, but they're being lied to. And there's still things like peer pressure and their own egos, and what they don't like is to be a minority. They don't like to be in a minority of one, perhaps, because all their friends think they're living on a spinning ball. So I can't go against them. I'll be ostracized. I'll be made fun of. I'd rather be made fun of and know the truth than believe in some bullshit all my life and be in with the in crowd. I couldn't give a fuck about being in with any crowd. That is not what I call important. Somebody said to me just recently, the truth might be so horrific that that's what we're being kept from. Now that's an interesting point, a good point, I think, to raise. But still, I don't care how horrific it may be. I don't care. I want to know the truth. It's a Pandora's box situation, maybe, but that's just a load of bullshit. It's not Schrodinger's cat, because that is utter nonsense. The cat's either dead or alive. There's no in between. Just like the tree falling in the forest. Of course it makes a fucking noise. Are you completely idiotic? Just because I'm not there to listen to it, it means it will still move the air, causing... Hey, there's my kettle boiling. Excuse me. Causing noises. And I would have beaten the shit out of Schrodinger if he'd done it to my cat. I'm not a violent man, but I hate cruelty. So, as I say, fight fire with fire. If somebody's cruel, they'll want to taste a bit of that cruelty for themselves, and then perhaps they won't do it again. So, I don't know what happened to Dell on Saturday night, but I hope everything's all right. It'll just be the usual crackheads and bagheads, and that are paid by the government so they don't go to prison and get bummed to death. Trying to disrupt the truth, the blatantly obvious truth. And because it's so obvious, my patience is running out with these people who insist that it's a ball. And flat earthers, don't worry about me using the term all the time, because that's just what it is. But we are subject to all sorts of abuse, and that's okay, that's fine, yeah, apparently that's fine. But if any other minority gets attacked, then you're up against the Court of Human Rights or something, So I don't in any way condone violence or any kind of attack on minorities just because they're different and they have a different view or opinion. But it comes down to more than just an opinion when you're talking about people who know the earth is flat, because they have science to back them up, real science. See ya.